Warning, this podcast contains spoilers for all of Stranger Things Season 4. So be warned. If you haven't watched, please watch it and come back because it's a fun episode and I think you'll like it, but we don't want to spoil you. Okay, Stranger Things Season 4, created, of course, by the Duffer Brothers, starring Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Millie Bobby Brown, the incredible, stretchable Finn Wolfhard, Gatton Matarazzo, my good friend Dustin. I love him so much. And, of course, the rest of them, including Maya Hawke, Joe Keery, Charlie Heaton, Sadie Sink. Hope you're doing well, Max. No recap to speak of, but let's just, our good friends, they faced off against Vecna from different locations, Nevada, Russia, over in Hawkins. And they did it. It was a multi-part plan to lure Vecna into Max's memories. 11 chipped in. Of course, over in Russia, our buddies chipped in by when Joyce realized, hey, hive mind, I recognize those monsters. We can help them weaken the enemy, because if we hurt these hive mind creatures, it will hurt everything. And it was fantastic. And I'll tell you, as I was rewatching it this weekend, part of why I liked it so much is seasons 1, 2, 3 are good. I like them as well. But especially the early seasons, I'm not going to say they felt disposable, but it felt like it was so nostalgia based and callback based that I was like, that it felt like, what is here that is just of this show? And what the answer was, the characters. Yeah. Now in season 4, we've gotten to the point where the nostalgia, we had these great moments as in this like extended fight against Vecna that was like operatic. It was operatic in the sense that like every emotional moment, whether it's Joyce and Hopper, Hopper finally like telling Joyce like how he feels and kissing her with a mouth that hasn't been brushed in X amount of years because he's been in a prison eating like bed bugs and maggots and who else knows what. It's like it's these moments where these characters who are always great get to like create these mini loops of nostalgia from within the very own series, and that's on top of the nostalgia of all the callbacks to the pop culture references and things that were happening at the time, and textures from Nightmare on Elm Street and
the
various
stuff.
Spielberg stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. And then on top of that, the nostalgia of, I'm getting to hang out with these characters that I legitimately think are great. And we're getting all these emotional payoffs of them finally like just coming clean with each other about how they feel. And then on top of all of that, after 4 seasons, we now have, as we said in the previous episodes, like a real world that has rules, that we kind of know the shape of it. Just like Joyce being like, oh, hive mind, like as a callback, setting up a rule of the world so we know how it works. All of that stuff was great.
Yeah, I think that Saul, Super Producer Saul, just popped something in the thing that I think is a really good point. The characters have a history now. Like, we know them, we care about them. It's about the world building has grown alongside them. But something else that you said that really spoke to me, I definitely agree. Like, seasons 1 and 2 are cool. But cool. Season 3 was where I felt like the characters started to be on journeys that I really, really cared about. Like, Max and 11 having that friendships kind of building in the mall and everything. I felt like that was really great from that season. I loved Dacre Montgomery as Max's brother. I thought that was such a great inclusion, and that really added these emotional stakes to me. It did something that I think the best versions of these shows can do, using sci-fi and horror as a space to explore trauma. Because so many of the reasons that we're drawn to horror and we're drawn to these grotesque, gory things, whether it's classic 80s style like Nightmare on Elm Street, or like if we're into really, really bleak, like hostile style gore. Like a lot of it comes from a place of wanting to explore that stuff safely. So I think it's really cool when these shows take the time to do that. And obviously that's what Vecna's playing on here, is like the notion of trauma. And then how do you beat that is by healing, is by personal journey, is by coming clean, you know. And we get really cool moments here. I wrote a really fun piece at Nerdist about putting each of the characters into like a D&D class. And I did so much research. And like one of the ones that I felt like is really strong here is Nancy as the fighter. Because, she might not be like a main stage, but every time she's there and you need her, she is there with that shotgun.
When I love nothing more than a gearing up for the final fight scene. I just love that shit. Like Monster Squad as a great one of those.
Monster Squad's
the Home
classic.
Alone. Like there's so many great Commando. There's great versions of this. And I'll tell you what, man, Stranger Things with Nancy pumping that shotgun and first of all buying it, like be at the store buying it. That was an absolutely like top level gear up scene. And I was just like so excited.
You know what? You actually speak to something that I think is part of why season 4 has been received this way, right? A lot of the stuff that happens in this season feels like they are earning and adding to the tropes and the canon rather than just doing a trope because you've seen it elsewhere. Like you said, that gearing up scene, people are going to put that alongside famous gearing up scenes now. Yeah. They didn't just do it because other movies do it. And I think as well, like, I have, just because this has been like my entire timeline for the last, like, since the show dropped. I mean, I've never seen a character come in and gain the absolute obsessive fandom of Eddie Munson. Joe Quinn as Eddie Munson. My whole timeline.
Talk to Doja Cat about it.
Right? Like that Doja, please look at him without the wig. It's not the same. Eddie is.
I think he's a good looking guy. I think he's a handsome guy.
He's not Eddie
striking
Munson.
gentleman. Did you see the video of him really playing Master of Puppets?
Yep. Yeah,
whoa!
Well, he played guitar, and they asked him that when he was one of the things they asked him when he did the show, you know. And to me, to see that character represented something that I think has been at the fringes of Stranger Things for a really long time, but in this series hit on in a really, really deep way, which is that notion of being othered and being the outsider.
It's all these outsiders that find
Eddie,
a place.
Yeah, and Eddie brings them together in this way that is completely selfless. And when you first meet him, you're like, okay, it's the 80s. He likes Metallica. Like, is he a jock? But then he has a Dio back patch. So I was like, he's probably a good guy. Yeah. And then, but like, he's actually this incredibly generous soul who's kind of constantly fighting against the evil of Hawkins, which is not just about the Upside Down, it's also about people's perceptions. It's about this satanic panic kind of stuff. So I think they did so much interesting stuff here. And also, I know nothing should ever be like just to set up the next season, but this does set up some really interesting stuff with Will and Eleven that, to me, I feel like was like hinted at from the first season, but I feel like we might really get to see come to fruition in the next season. So I would be most happy to see those two have a little team up.
I love the little mini arc of Mike being like, 11, obviously, we've been through so much together and I like you so much. And then she's like, what, love? What happened to love? And then like,
he can't even write it on the flowers.
He can't even write it on the flower. And then finally, like he pays it off while everybody else is paying it off. And you get that wonderful moment where he admits how he feels.
You know what else?
And he still feels that way.
You know, shouting out your little buddy, I think something that's been really cool as well is to see Dustin essentially go from like the comedy relief to being the true leader of the party.
Yeah,
like
the guy.
That his pop culture knowledge and references, that is now his armory. It's kind of like us. It's like that's what he can pull from to know stuff. He doesn't drop it to be cool. That is how he solves mysteries. That's how he solves problems. You know, he's the inventor, the artificer. I thought I've always loved Dustin, but I was very happy for that journey. And I'm really excited to see that because Mike used to be the kind of like, go-to leader, but I would say Dustin is really that.
I loved him. In the Lure Away the Demobats mission with Master of Puppets and Eddie Munson on guitar.
R.I.P.
Just like R.I.P. to my guy. I loved how like there's fucking demons like around.
He's just
we
so
could
happy.
die at any moment, and he's just like, yeah, this is
He's
so
looking
cool.
at Eddie and he's like,
yeah,
this is sick.
This is sick. That was just absolutely delightful. And I'll just say, like, I was a little bit as a reformed guitar player myself, who went through a pretty heavy Metallica phase, and used to hang out with metalheads. The big thing, as I'm sure Eddie Munson would tell you, with metal is it's all downstrokes. That right hand picking technique, your hand, moves up and down, right? So like the more efficient way to like do like a dun 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 is to go, down, up, down, down, like that. But in metal, that's wrong. Metal is all downstrokes. Metal is all like punching down on the ground again and again and again. And I was a little disappointed that no like reporter, no journalist was like, so, okay, Joseph Quinn, great, incredible video of you playing Master Puppets. Are you doing all downstrokes as you were supposed to do?
Joseph Quinn, please send your answers on a postcard to X-Ray Vision. We want to know. Come on here and show us. Was it all downstrokes? We need to know. The people want to know.
Setting up for season 5, which hopefully will not be spoiled by Legos this time.
We can dream.
I should say, so that's, the Duffer Brothers were a little miffed because some plot stuff from season 4 was spoiled by Lego, which join the club. Like
it happens to
Star
everything.
Wars,
Doctor Strange,
Fantastic Beasts, Doctor Strange. Many properties have been spoiled by Legos. But I am, man, what's going to happen with Max? All of that stuff, like going, like 11, searching, like her mind is gonna be a big part of it.
I think that as well, like I think so from the outset, if we look at the D&D stuff, which has always been really key to this, like Will, I think, was always their wizard, right? And 11 was a more generic like magic user was how Mike saw her, but she's obviously a mage. I think the end with Will's like connection to Vecna, I actually think we might see him kind of take on like a good Hannibal reference here, but like a Will Graham, like empath style,
I love that
superhero where he can hunt down Vecna. He can team up with Elle and get to have his hero moment.
Will Graham is a character from the Thomas Harris Silence of the Lambs novel. Red Dragon is the one he's from, and then adapted later by Michael Mann in Manhunter, and then later became a series. And Will Graham is just he's a fascinating character because basically the whole thing with him is he understands what drives a serial killer so well, because as Lecter is always kind of like teasing him, he's like an inch away from becoming, like he could almost be one.
It's
and
one
that dynamic with Will, I think, would be so amazing.
I think
like
this notion of he's the ultimate outsider and he can start to feel it, and Vecna can take advantage of those manipulations. And I would just say, like, if you haven't watched if you can believe it, it was on NBC. You'll never believe it.
It doesn't make sense that the show was on NBC.
It's so gory. It's so grotesque. It's so brilliant. But that really explores that notion of being an empath to the point where it's like a superhero and a curse and how it can be manipulated. And I feel like they will be very smart to bring in an element like that.
Yeah, I think that's right on. I just need them to get Will a better haircut. We can't keep doing this to my
Let's just commit.
Yeah. Let's just commit to it, please.
Oh my God, no, it's so true. Did you see there was a really, really hilarious meme, and it was like, it was like somebody had posted like, how could Mike not see Will crying like that? And then they were like, all they could see, and it's just a thumb with a bowl cut.
So funny. Oh,
Will,
one
please,
more thing.
We need the better than the Joyce special, please.
One more thing I want to shout out is my friend Heidi said this to me. She's like, I realized like the last like 3 episodes that I just had my fist clenched the whole time. Like particularly the chapter 8 Papa episode when Papa's running and the sniper is from the helicopters like shooting at him, and 11 is like shaking the helicopter with her powers trying to throw. That was as visually like stunning as anything I've seen in a while. I was just like, this looks great. Like I felt like I was watching this on a big screen. Like some of the action sequence in this were just so great.
It's actually nice to see where that $30 million an episode went. Aside from cost, which like pay those kids, because something else that I haven't.
They deserve it.
This
no, who has more leverage than these fucking kids right now?
These
you
children.
gotta make season 5. What are you gonna do? Say Dustin died off screen?
He's gone up to space, like that Simpsons episode. But it's definitely one of those things where like the other thing that this show has always done really great from the beginning, which I think is why it targets people like me and you, because this is one of our favorite things: found family, kids, ragtag group. Who you care about, who you would die for. I love those stories. It goes back to the X-Men, which has always been one of the most important touch points for this show. The first episode of this season is called the Hellfire Club. A big, X-Men reference, even though it has historical resonance outside of that. It's also what D&D Club is called. So I just think like there's so much in just those relationships that can carry it. And that's kind of where the heart of the show is.
We were talking about the Norwegian movie Worst Person in the World before we hit record. And I was saying what I liked about it was that it was less a plot-driven movie and more a movie in which everything turns on how well the main character is fleshed out. And it's like we've hit that, for me, Stranger Things has hit that point where it's just like you just know who these people are, and it's so great to spend time with them. I will say here's my one. It's not even a disappointment. Lucas, man, you got to have hands. Yeah. How are you getting your ass? Like he won the fight. He did win the fight. But,
I will say though,
bro, what happened?
In terms of that very aspect of the characters, I would love to see them bring in some writers who can really do justice to Lucas and Erica next season. That would be like my big get. I also say like resurrect Eddie. I think that's what the people want. You could bring him back as some spooky shit next to Vecna. Like that's what the people want, man. They're giving you free. That is free consumer testing. They're telling you bring Eddie back.
And next time Lucas gets to fight like a dickhead jock who's been a piece of shit for the entire season. Instead of making it like a back and forth seesaw battle, how about just Lucas just pummels the guy's face for 20 minutes, and then eventually that guy's body gets destroyed by a portal.
I'm telling you, this is.
Can I just watch Lucas stomp this guy for 5 minutes straight?
We gotta move. That's the next step in this idea of like, look, people are racist, and there are ways of showing that, and the dangers of it, and how terrible it is. But you know what everyone has seen? Everyone's seen Black people being victims of racism. Everyone's gotten to see the horrors of that. Can we just see somebody stomping out a racist? Yeah. I would love to see it. That's the next step.
I don't, there have been some critiques, of like, oh, we're not exploring small town racism, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I get it. That is an absolutely important thing to explore and to show at times. But I also, again, and I don't want to speak for anybody. I'm speaking for myself, as just from my personal experience, that I can interact with those ideas, with that history, with stories like that. There's a million choices. I really appreciate the fact that when I'm with my friends from Hawkins, it's just the reality of this world. And not to say disconnected from the real world, but it's a more heightened pop culture inflected version of that world in which we can just enjoy this plot.
Yeah.
And I would have enjoyed this plot a little bit more if Lucas would have not struggled. My guy, Lucas, you got to get your hands up. He needs to join a boxing gym before season 5.
It deviates from that power that this has of getting to be distant. Lucas doesn't get that freedom, but I'm really hoping Lucas and Max want to see it. 11 and Will team up. Want to see it. There's things I want for these characters. I'm now a Steve and Eddie shipper, but I like the Steve and Nancy stuff that they hinted at. Come on, you're telling me in any world anyone's going to go out with Jonathan instead of Steve? I think
that's
not.
Very tough.
The same way Will has a crush on Mike. No, he would have a crush on Steve. Steve is
everybody would have a crush on Steve.
Delightful one. That is a character arc for the ages. That is, if there was one thing from the beginning to now that has always been consistently great, it is a character arc of Steve going from the jockish, bully, popular kid to becoming this caretaker leader who he respected even in these moments of telling Nancy how he felt. It was all about her boundaries. This is how I feel. I don't want you to feel that way, but I need you to know I know I did wrong.
Absolutely, so much.
Steve's having a great time. Jonathan,
I gotta say, I thought
come back
Steve
next season.
I thought there was a second there where I thought Steve was about to get topped off in the Upside Down.
Thank you.
I thought it was about to go down.
I'm
in
telling
the Upside
you.
Down.
I'm telling you.
And listen, has it ever happened before? Let's make history, folks. Steve, Nancy, like next time we're down there, let's make history. That's all I'm saying.
It could happen. There was a moment. The things we're feeling. Like you could put a warning beforehand. I don't watch this show.